Welcome, cousins, to another episode of Honest Talk About Women, where you'll learn tips, tricks, and strategies on how to navigate the minefields of dating and relationships. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and also comment in the comment section. This all helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you've got a story you want to share with viewers, you can contact me on my email address that's listed below. Today's topic will be about blended families and the challenges associated with a blended family. What is a blended family? It's basically having a relationship with another person that has kids from a previous relationship, and you combine your kids with her kids. 40% of the families are now blended, and that's growing and will eventually overtake those that are non-blended families. In terms of dating, 40% of newlyborns now are purely to single mothers. So there's a huge big pool of women out there that have kids from another man. So if you thought marriage was bad enough with a 50% failure rate, with no kids, blended families, marriage rates are even a higher failure rate. The latest stats is that it's a 70% failure rate. So if you combine your kids with someone else's, if you combine your kids with someone else's kids from another father, there's a 70% failure rate that marriage will fail. So in some ways, society's been conditioned to accept blended families. And this all started back in the 70s with the Brady Bunch. For you that aren't familiar with the Brady Bunch, who are a lot younger, it was basically a sitcom in the 70s where you had one guy with three sons that blended his family with another lady that had three daughters, and they also had a maid. So there was 9 in total, and they lived in a 4-bedroom house in LA. And it's a very successful sitcom, but it was basically Disneyland brainwashing people into accepting that blended families work, whereas the actual reality is that blended families, based on the probability of marriage failure rate, is that they don't work at all, and they're fraught with a lot of problems. So it's just another way of Hollywood brainwashing people or conditioning them. It's like a lot of movies they put out, Finding My Knight in Shining Armour, I Want the Fairy Tale Wedding, and I Want My Protector. It's just pure conditioning by Hollywood. The intentions may have been good back then, but the reality is completely different. So one of the biggest problems with blended families is the psychology of the kids. So the older the kids are, the harder it is to train them or retrain them into your way of doing things or into your frame. So if the kids are over 7 years onwards, they've already been imprinted by someone else's DNA in terms of mannerisms and the way to do things. So if you're thinking that you can bring kids into your family and they can fit nicely and snugly into your frame, then think again, because there's a good chance that won't happen. The younger the kids, newlyborns and so forth, the easier it is for them to blend in and become part of your makeup and the way you want things done. But as the kids approach school at 5, get up to that 7-year-old mark, and then further on after that, it becomes harder and harder because kids are pretty much set in their ways on how they want things done and how they want to do things their way. So it's quite common for, if you came out of a first marriage and there was a bit of acrimonious between you and your ex, then there's a good chance that your ex will poison the kids into her way of thinking against your current wife. So if you had difficulty separating, divorcing, and then you remarry another lady with kids, then there's a good chance that to get back at you, your ex-wife will try and condition the way to think about their new stepmom, and vice versa. If a woman divorces a guy and remarries with a blended family, then there is a good chance that the biological father of her kids will poison her kids to get back at her And it's just all part of game playing. And so it's very hurtful and can be quite demeaning to a lot of guys who take on the challenge of a blended family, and also for a female too. So given the challenges, you often get comments from kids when you want to correct their behaviour, them telling you, you're not my effing father, don't tell me what to do, you can't tell me what to do, you're not my father, and piss off. So not uncommon from the stories I've heard out there, that's very common with kids telling their stepfather not to interfere with their lifestyle because they are not their biological father. And vice versa with women also, with sons from a different relationship getting back at her. So you always got that conflict in the household with outside forces, the exes, trying to remotely upset your family or try to damage your family, or trying to put a bit of acid on the fire remotely. And and kids take things and say things that are very hurtful, and it can get quite annoying. A lot of kids that tell their stepfather, my father said you were dumb because you don't have a university degree, or my father said this, and it's just completely off field, unwarranted, but the kids mimic what their biological father has told them, and it can be very hurtful. And again, it works both on the female and the male. So one of the biggest challenges with blended families is discipline. Obviously, we've all been brought up differently, and the good things that we learnt from when we were brought up, we want to carry on into our family, blended family, but it's not always possible because you've inherited kids from a different father who tends to do things differently to the way you like them done. So there can be issues over discipline, and the challenge can be exemplified if you marry outside your culture. So if you marry, for example, an Asian lady, an Asian lady may have a different interpretation of discipline than that you have. So your kids are accustomed to a set type of discipline, and whereas some other people, say an Asian lady, may think that physical discipline is quite normal and should be done on your kids, and a massive conflict can arise there, and a massive division in the household can occur where there's different disciplinary styles in your house. So there's lots of little things that can upset a blended family. And when you're working long hours, 12, 14-hour days, and you come home and the house is disorderly, and your girlfriend or your wife is also working long hours, and you come home and the house is disorderly, it can be those small little things that can trigger a nuclear explosion within your house. So for example, a small thing like the dishes. If you come into the kitchen and the dishes aren't done, there's plates everywhere, there's knife and forks on the kitchen island, crumbs on the bench, it's just the oven's doors left open, the microwave doors left open, the fridge has been emptied out. There's just those little things that can trigger a big explosion within your house. So I've done a video on dishes, and if you want to have a look at that, how a very minor thing can lead to a major event in a house. So another thing is, if you got boys in the house, they eat a ton of food, and you can go grocery shopping and buy some real nice treats, and within 30 minutes they're gone. And the food that you plan for an evening meal, you communicated to everybody that we're going to have a certain meal tonight. Within 30 minutes, that's gone out of the fridge. Also, keeping your rooms tidy. You've got to have some sort of agreement with your wife or girlfriend on the tidiness of the rooms, because a lot of people, as kids get older, they tend to spend a lot of time in their bedrooms, and then you've got the event of gaming, and gaming is huge with teenagers, and there's a lot of kids that spend huge amounts of time gaming on their computer, and they stay up all night, right through to 8 o'clock in the morning. So when you're getting up or making breakfast in the morning, they come out of their room that they've been up all night, and not only is the kitchen a mess, but also the room's a mess, and there's food everywhere, there's cans of Coke, it's just an absolute mess, and these are the sort of things that can irritate a lot of people. Also, during the evenings when you're in your house, when kids are gaming, you can quite often hear a lot of screaming and yelling from your kids playing gaming, and it's a real challenge because you want to keep the noise pollution in your house right down, yet they're so engrossed in their game, they can hardly hear you telling them to be quiet or tone it down a bit. Another one is just shoes and bags left all over the house and hallways, and it's a tripping hazard. So you got to, if you want an orderly type house, you got to lay down the rules that you don't want anything left in the hallway. So there's a clear passageway in case in case the rare circumstances of a fire, you've got to get out of the house real quickly. You can't jump over a whole lot of stuff in the hallway that has just been dumped there. Another one is young kids jumping on couches. You go out, you buy some expensive furniture, you come home and there's just kids jumping on the furniture, and you tell them, please don't do that. It goes in one ear, out the other. 5 minutes later, they're back doing it. And the worst one is them having their friends over and they're doing that, and you just tell them again and again and again and again, and sometimes it's just in one ear and out the other. Hi guys, I've got a product I want to share with you. As you see behind me, I've got a supplements and spray company. This is my favorite product. It's B Propolis throat spray. In the winter time, when you get a tingling feeling in your throat, this is the ideal product you need. A couple of sprays down the back of your throat. It's a really nice taste, and your throat tingliness goes away. We all get that sort of cough coming on, sore throat in the wintertime, and you want to remain productive and get through your work. So this is the ideal product for you. Unfortunately, it's only available on Amazon UK. Not Amazon USA. We gave it a good run there, but it just didn't appear to have the legs in that country. So if you want to support the channel, I'll be very happy if you purchase this product on Amazon UK. In terms of custody care arrangements, it can be an absolute logistical nightmare to plan a holiday. So obviously, the more advanced planning you do, the cheaper the airfares, and you just don't know who's going to be around, because certain custody plans suggest or put in concrete that the kids are to be with a certain parent on a certain day, for either for a certain religious festival or whether it's and those religious festivals move around and you've got to go through your calendar system, and it can be an absolute nightmare to work out and try and get the cheap flights for. Another one is midnight fry-ups. Obviously, when you're asleep at night, you want to have peace and tranquility, and you can hear people cooking away, doing a big fry-up in the kitchen, and that smell goes right through the house. And then you have the concern that the gas on the oven's been left on because one of the kids is a bit forgetful. So you're forever going down, either telling them this is not to be done again, or checking on the gas to make sure it's turned off. Another one is loud music on their iPhones. You tell them to wear earplugs, keep the noise down, and kids come walking right through the house. You're on a business phone call, and you have this huge loud music playing on their iPhone at top blare, and it's highly frustrating. Then the kids actually fight. Blended kids fight. It's not like the Brady bunch where they're all happy-go-lucky. It's the kids actually fight, and they fight over trivial stuff like who got the biggest ice cream out of the freezer, or it's not fair because on Christmas Day she got more presents than I did. And then that also leads to issues with you and your girlfriend or you and your wife over giving kids equal gifts for Christmas. And you see it time and time again with one person complaining that more money's been spent on a particular kid than the other kid. And then it leads to parental control of Wi-Fi as the kids grow up. Some things on the internet are harmful, and you don't want your kids getting access to that. So you've got to be like a home administrator, being the bad cop in the house on limiting the websites that your kids can access. And that can get quite tricky and time-consuming. And when it comes to school projects, they need to access certain websites that you've banned, and then you've got to reconfigure what is to be authorized and what is to remain banned. So it can be quite time-consuming running a household that has a Wi-Fi restriction system in place. One of the biggest issues I see with blended families is the protection of your own kids. And every person that has kids, they have a unwritten responsibility to provide for them and to protect them. So in terms of protecting kids, it becomes ever so trickier when you have a blended family. And what I'm talking about here is non-blood related kids living in the same household as other non-blood related people, and they go through that stage of puberty, and they have their hormones racing, especially guys, and there's other women around the house who are non-blood related. So what you're going to do is be very mindful of that. And what encourages the problem is pornography. So you have certain websites out there that are easily accessible for kids to watch. And a lot of the young kids today are getting their sexual training from pornography websites, and they can be living in a different reality because what they see on a pornography website is completely different to what actually happens out there in real life. So there's one website that's got a massive market share, and that's Pornhub, and it's a Canadian-based and owned company, and it is a huge website that has a huge amount of traffic. So recently it was placed number 4 on the list after Google, YouTube and Facebook, as having 11.5 billion visitors a year, 125 million daily visitors. So you can see why certain countries have banned it. There's about 36 countries that have banned Pornhub, and one of the biggest countries is China. It's totally banned it because it can have consequences in developing the views on what they perceive as normal sexual relationships. So getting back to a blended family, it amazes me that some of these websites have lots and lots of videos of stepdaughter does stepsister, or stepdad breaks in stepdaughter, or stepmother takes it out on stepson. And you can see why various jurisdictions have banned certain websites that promote that sort of stuff. And if you just put yourself into the mind of a 13, 14-year-old boy who somehow has navigated his way around access to the website, even though you may have parental controls in the house, and seeing these sort of videos that state in their title and in their thumbnail relationships between members of a blended family. So they would get a distorted sense of reality, and then they would sort of project that into being normal, which is far from normal, and put your daughters at risk should you have daughters in a blended family. So that's one of the biggest biggest issues there is, I believe, of a blended family is when boys get to a certain age, their hormones are racing, they want to be sexually active, but they don't have haven't been in a relationship with a girlfriend, or they don't have a girlfriend at all, and they're pointing around 360 degrees on who they should target for their activity. And there is a real risk, guys, that serious harm can be done to your daughters, and it'll be with them for the rest of their lives. They can be damaged psychologically, obviously physically, and it can take many, many years of counselling and therapy bills to try and have your daughter overcome that. There's been plenty of cases out there in the courts where this has occurred and has been reported in the newspaper. So I can assure you it is a big, big issue. And it leads to a very dysfunctional family, and it's not good for society at all. So that's pretty much it today, guys, on blended families. It's an absolute challenge should you go down that track. I do not recommend at all to blend your kids with another person's kids, because one, the chances of failure are 70% as opposed to 50% first marriage, no kids. And two, there's all sorts of issues and dynamics inside the house where you've got bitter exes trying to stoke the fire from afar and trying to get those kids against you, their kids against you. And three, you've got to protect your kids. One of the basics of having kids is to provide and protect, and your duty is to protect your children. And if you have daughters and it's blended in with another wife that has boys, then depending on the makeup of those boys, if they're high voltage on the hormone front at an early stage, the consequences can be an absolute disaster. So you got to factor that in. And also the housing market, they're building smaller houses for higher prices. And how are you going to fit all those kids in a blended family into that house, having their own privacy, their own room, sharing a bathroom? Are there locks on the bathroom doors? These are all the sort of things you got to work through if you're going to go down that track, which I don't recommend. So that's it today, guys. There's an absolute minefield, a tremendous amount of mines to consider if you're going to go into a blended family, and you shouldn't really go down that track at all, because it's very, very difficult, and there can be disastrous consequences if the wrong things happen. So that's it for today. Don't forget to press the like button, recommend the channel, comment in the comment section. If you have something you want to share with viewers, you can email me on my email address that is listed below. Okay, until next time, take care.